company dismissed. Thank you very much.
Well, welcome to the Sky Blue History Podcast, and I'm delighted to say I'm joined, of course, once again by our club historian, Jim Brown. And tonight's episode is a special one. We're focusing on the life and career of Terry Yorath, who sadly passed away recently and is fondly remembered by those Sky Blue fans who saw him captain our great club. Terry was a leader, a warrior in midfield, and a huge part of one of the most exciting periods in Coventry City's history. We'll be reflecting on his journey in the game, his impact at Highfield Road, and why he still holds such a special place in the hearts of supporters. We'll also be looking at the foreign-born players at Coventry City, but with a bit of a twist that we think listeners will enjoy. Before we get going, if you enjoy our podcast, please like and subscribe and share. Every little bit really does help us grow and reach more Sky Blue fans. Good evening, Jim. How are you? Have you recovered from the FA Cup defeat?
Good evening, Claudio. Yes, I think I'd recovered by about 5:30 on Saturday, actually. Yes, I think it was disappointing to lose that late goal, but on reflection, it means that we can concentrate on the last 20 league games and winning promotion to the Premier League. I thought it was a reasonable game. I thought City, considering we had 8 changes, I thought the team played reasonably well. I think there's some standout performances, particularly Josh Eccles and Kai Andrews in midfield. I thought they were excellent. Josh playing that Grimes role, I thought, rather well. The other standout performance for me were the 2 loanees. I thought they both acquitted themselves well, and I thought Romain Esse looks a very, very useful acquisition for the rest of the season. I thought he played well on the right, and then he came into the number 10 role, didn't he? And I thought that one run and cross for Hadji to miss the header was, or to hit the post with the header, I thought that was excellent from, I think it was you that said to me, that run reminded you of Peter Unlove.
Oh, yes. Yeah, where he looks like he's almost lost it and he's somehow kept it on the pitch. I thought it was brilliant, the cross. Yeah, the first half, we just looked disjointed. It looked like a team with 8 changes, and the second half was a lot better, basically. And very typical when you think you're on top, and it looked like it was going to extra time. We got beat by a wonder goal. He won't do that again if he tries it 100 times, so he's not scored a goal all season, that guy, has he? So it was out of the blue, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's done us a favour, I think, Jim, in the long run, I think.
I agree.
Right, well, we're going to talk about Terry Yorath tonight. And Jim, if you can take us back to when Terry Yorath was a young player and the kind of football education he had at Leeds United under Don Revie. How did you think that? Well, could you see the traits of Yorath in Revie's sort of managerial makeup, basically?
Well, I think if you go back to Terry's upbringing, he was an outstanding rugby player as a young lad. Played at scrum half. Natural growing up in Cardiff, and but I think his footballing talents began to overtake the rugby talents, and when he left school, he was snapped up by Leeds United. I think he played for Wales Schoolboys. He was probably on the radar of a lot of the big clubs. And so he would have joined, he was born in 1950, so he would have been about 1966 when he came to Ellen Road as probably an apprentice professional. And at that time, Leeds had just been promoted to the First Division, and Don Revie was beginning to mould the great Leeds United side. you're talking about the side that included Jack Charlton, Norman Hunter, Paul Reaney, and then later came Terry Cooper. I forgot Billy Bremner, of course. And later came Mick Jones, Alan Clark, Eddie Gray,
Johnny
Peter
Giles.
Lorimer. It was just a star-studded team. And Terry did get a debut as an 18-year-old. I think it was an end-of-season game at Burnley. And I did read one obituary in the Nationals, which talked about his debut at Burnley, and somebody on the bench, one of the trainers, said, "This lad he's putting himself about a bit, isn't he?" And the reply was, "Well, what would you expect from somebody who lodges with Norman Hunter's mum?" So he was from an early stage of his Leeds career. He was becoming renowned as a hard guy. I think that was just the Leeds way. Everybody was tough. Even the strikers were hard as nails.
You got midfielders like Bremner and Giles and Eddie Gray. It's always going to be hard for Terry to break through, wasn't it? Really, because his first team appearances were limited, weren't they?
They were, yeah. I think he only made 30 appearances in 5 seasons after that debut. It wasn't really until 1973 that he sort of became. Well, he didn't become a regular. He became the regular utility man. I think he would come in when, if you remember, Paul Madeley was the classic utility man. He would play anywhere, fullback, centre back, even striker at times. And I think Terry Yorath was sort of his second go-to utility man. But I think the majority of his games were in midfield. Although later in his career he did play at centre half. But he came to the fore in 72-73, and he was actually a substitute when they lost the cup final to Sunderland. And he also played at that time, that season, in the European Cup Winners' Cup final, which they lost to AC Milan. The following season was the classic Leeds season. That was the season where they not only won the league, but started to get the plaudits for their style of football, which became, I suppose, less dirty that season, although they could still put it about. But there was the classic 7-0 win over Southampton, which was featured a lot on Match of the Day and in videos, wasn't it? Where they were scoring, they were passing the ball like 50 times before scoring goals, and they were a very attractive time. But
they were doing something that we sort of go ole to now, which in those days it was probably classed. I mean, now it's seen as a bit of a laugh, but it's sort of really classed as disrespectful back then, wasn't it? And I don't think they weren't applauded for it. I know that it was seen as not a great thing to do, but especially when Johnny Giles was doing little flicks, wasn't he, around the corner and stuff?
Yes.
But they were good. Didn't they go 29 games and defeated from the start of the season? Was that the season, 28 games? I think they lost to Burnley, didn't they?
I seem to remember they lost at Stoke.
Was it Stoke? I know they went 28, 29. It's in the 20s where and I think that record was held until Forest beat it, I think.
I'll just check that, because I think you're right.
They were formidable, weren't they? And I mean, they had the tag of dirty Leeds, didn't they? Basically,
they did, yes.
Which bizarrely sticks now, even though it's got nothing to do with now. It's like 50, 60 years ago almost.
They were unbeaten in the league from the start of the season through to losing at Stoke 3-2 in February. So I think it was 29 or 30 games unbeaten.
That's impressive.
Strangely, the week before they lost that record at Stoke, they got bumped out of the FA Cup by Bristol City, and I do remember Ernie Hunt played. Ernie Hunt played for Bristol that day. I think they drew at Ashton Gate and beat them at Ellen Road, which was a major shock. So that was the season where they lifted the trophy, the championship trophy, and then Don Revie took the England job at the end of that season, ultimately replacing Alf Ramsey, although there was Joe Mercer who had that short spell as caretaker, didn't he?
It wasn't a popular choice, though, was he, Don Revie?
Yeah. Well, I don't think he was outside Leeds. I don't think he was popular at all, was he?
It was a weird setup at Leeds. I've seen lots of old documentaries, and I wouldn't say it was close to a cult. When you actually see how it was all used to work behind the scenes, they're very enclosed. It's very sort of, I can't find the right words here, but they basically didn't let anybody in.
No.
It was a closed shop, and you couldn't. Don Revie, he had a certain style, and he managed the team in a certain way, and obviously to some good success over that 10-year period where. They got to a lot of semi-finals, got to a lot of finals. They won things, runners up a fair few times as well in the league. So it worked, but you had to be a certain character to be part of that. So I suppose when you think about the mid-70s and you're looking at Terry before we signed him, and he's had a reputation as a hard midfielder, because no doubt you'll tell me what happened in the European Cup final. So how was Terry, do you think, seen nationally before he arrived at Coventry?
Well, I think they were all tarred with the same brush. I think that thinking back to the mid-70s, Leeds were reviled. I think one of the most exciting victories for Coventry City in that era was the first time we actually beat Leeds, which was 71-72 season, at Highfield Road. When this was just after Ian St John joined us. Ian St John scored a goal. Ernie Hunt got a great goal, and I think the Chris Chilton got a goal that day. It was a rare. But I think the man of the match was Quintin Young, who took Terry Cooper to the cleaners.
Really?
It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So we beat them. That was 71-72, I said. And Terry actually played. We beat them 3-1. Terry played that day. He was substituted at half time.
Oh.
With us 2-0 up. So
he got telling off.
He might have done, yeah. And they were without their top two strikers, Mick Jones and Alan Clark, because they had Rod Belfit up front. Otherwise, it was the famous Leeds team. All the others are there. That was a fantastic performance. I think we got one draw or maybe two draws in what would have been in 8 meetings prior to that against Leeds. They always beat us 1-0. That was the Leeds way.
I did notice when you look at old crowds, the biggest home gates of certain seasons in their heyday, a lot of the club's biggest crowds wasn't against Man United or Liverpool. It was Leeds. I think one of ours was one season.
Yeah, we had 40,000 for a Friday night game in the previous season. Yeah.
Yeah, they did draw a crowd, and I think it's because of the well, because people hated them. They wanted to see them play and beat them. Basically,
Yeah.
they drew a crowd. And I mean, I've got some old mates of mine now, Leeds fans, because I mean the same age as me, but they were brought up in that era.
Yeah.
Leeds being successful, and they actually go to games actually, and they live around Warwick and Leamington.
They still go now.
Yes, they still go now.
Wow. Wow. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. They should support City though, shouldn't they?
Well, they should do. When I lived in Whitnash, Jim, and I got a message on Saturday, of course, from a guy called Rich Cowley, used to live opposite me on Whitnash Road, Stoke City fan, who's got a season
Right.
ticket, goes
Yeah.
all the time, and
Wow.
yeah, and he doesn't normally message me unless they win.
Yes.
and I always get the message then, but I've known him since I was like 4 years old, and he's always followed Stoke, but that would have been the late 60s, early 70s again.
Yes.
Probably because
Yeah.
of Gordon Banks, things like that.
Early 70s, they were a strong team. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting.
Yeah.
So what do you think? I mean, obviously, actually, tell us about the European Cup final. What you remember that? Because they played against Bayern Munich, didn't they? And he was.
Well, yeah, that's interesting because the Revie went and Brian Clough arrived.
Yeah.
And we had this crazy situation where Clough walked into the Leeds dressing room and told all of them to throw their medals in the dustbin because they cheated, which may have been true, but it's not the great motivational speech, is it? So Clough only lasted a matter of days, 40 odd days, wasn't it?
44 days, wasn't it? Yeah.
And they brought in Jimmy Armfield, didn't they?
Yeah.
After a brief caretaker, I think called Maurice Lindley. But Leeds were struggling. When Clough went, they were 19th in the table. But Terry was a regular that season when they reached the final of the European Cup. And I'm just looking who they played in the European Cup. Ujpest Doza, FC Zurich, Anderlecht in the quarterfinals, Barcelona in the semi-finals. And they beat Barcelona 3-2 on aggregate. If you look on YouTube,
I've seen it.
The Barcelona game is it's like all in wrestling.
Yeah, there's an incident where I thought Barcelona were worse than Leeds. They were terrible. And then Johan Cruyff decides to join in, which is a surprise. You, in fact, even the European, when the Cup Winners' Cup final against Milan is a terrible match where they get booted all over the pitch. And I've got to say, I think European football in those days was shocking. There's so much money being moved around, and it's true bribery. It was happening. All ends up, and I think the British clubs got the worst of it. If you look back on some of the footage, it's terrible.
Yeah. Well, and the Italian clubs definitely got the benefit. So many times, whether it's against English clubs or I remember they beat Inter beat Ajax, didn't they? And it was so blatantly rigged.
Well, I mean, my Italian club's Juventus, and when they played Derby, that was another one where I think Brian Clough was beside himself because he could see it was just blatant cheating on behalf of the referee. Yes. So yes.
Brian Glanville's written a lot about the Italian fixing of referees in that period. But anyway, going back to Yorath, he started the game in Paris. They played Bayern Munich in Paris, and in the fourth minute he went into a tackle with I think it's a Danish guy called Anderson, and it's a vicious tackle. It really is, and the guy broke his leg. And the Bayern players were not. If you watch the video, they're not happy at all with Yorath. But I think Terry, again, in one of the obituaries I read, Terry was quite apologetic about that. He said, "I'd never go out to deliberately try and break somebody's leg. It was, it was a tackle that went too far. Well, it certainly was. But of course, we had the dodgy refereeing in that game, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Very questionable refereeing.
Well, they should have had a penalty and a goal that was disallowed for offside when he wasn't offside. So
Yeah, it was that Lorimer's goal.
yeah. And I think, was it Bremner or Clark got pulled down for the penalty?
Yes.
But, and of course, there's the typical scenes of violence because of it after the game and throughout the game. Yeah, it wasn't a glorious night for European football, that's for sure.
It wasn't, no. So Terry was obviously part of that team. He was a regular under Armfield that season, and then the following season, again he was a regular, but there was something going on, obviously, because when in August '76, when Terry joined Coventry, he did make the point in one of his newspaper comments that he was glad to get out of Leeds. So something was not quite right.
Well, looking at his arrival at Coventry, so we signed him in 1976. I mean, how big a statement was that for our club, for Gordon Milne's ambitions? Because it wasn't unusual for us to do this. We did it with Colin Steen from Rangers. We did it with Larry Lloyd from Liverpool, and this felt like another big name from a club who was much, much bigger than Coventry City.
Yeah, it's interesting, the timing, because it was only 8 or 9 months after we'd sold Dennis Mortimer to Villa. And you know, the story then that was the club was broke. So suddenly we're signing Terry Yorath for 135,000. We're signing Ian Wallace for 75, and Bobby McDonald for, I don't know, was he 50,000 or something?
Yeah.
So we signed 3 players. It was prompted by a dreadful start we had to the season, the 76-77 season. We lost the first 2 games. And I think the second game was at home to Man United. And we were shocking. I think it was virtually Larry Lloyd's final game. But yeah, they went out and spent big money. You just wonder where the money was coming from. Did we go back into serious debt? To be honest, I can't remember.
I'm trying to think. Was Robin still there then?
No.
No.
No. The chairman was Jack Scamp.
Okay.
And Jimmy Hill was managing director.
Right.
And then Jack Scamp, I think just weeks after Terry came, I think Jack Scamp stood down because of health issues, and he died about 3 months later.
Oh dear.
But yeah, so I think you know, Terry was one of those players, a bit like Dennis Wise, that you hate when he's on the opposition. You know, you loathe him because he's a dirty sod. But as soon as he dons a sky blue shirt, oh God, he's one of us. You know, he's our Terry, he's our hard man.
Yeah, I tried to make a comparison to, obviously, Jack from our other show, and he's only 24, 25, and I says, well, in modern day football, I compared him to Michael Doyle. I says, because he was a hard man, but actually he could play a little bit as well. And I think,
he could play a lot.
Yeah, and I thought that's what I said. I was trying to compare somebody because it's hard for somebody who's never seen him play. I said, well, Michael Doyle, exactly that. He could stick his foot in, and he could still pass a ball and do other stuff as well.
Yes.
And he says, right, cheers for that.
I think Yorath was a better tackler. I've never been impressed with Doyle's tackling, to be honest. But
was it tackling or fouling?
But yeah, and I do remember that as soon as he arrived, we got a really good right wing, with Graham Oakey behind him, Terry in the middle on what I would call the old right half.
Yeah.
with Ray Graydon and then later Don Nardiello on the wing. And the three of them just seemed to have this perfect understanding of where each other was on the pitch, and it was quite impressive. Quite impressive. He had a lot of skill, and that first season, obviously, the team was doing reasonably well up until February time. I seem to think we were comfortably mid-table, and then it was a dreadful winter. And the pitch at Highfield Road was dreadful. We had so many postponements, and we ended up playing about 8 or 9 away games in a row.
Yeah, that's right.
We didn't win many. I think we actually won at Leeds. I think Terry's first trip back to Ellen Road was our first ever win at Ellen Road. It was on Match of the Day. But yeah, that was about the only away game we won in that run. And because we ended up with this backlog of home games, and we were really in the mix for relegation. And of course, the famous final game with Bristol City, where Terry was our captain, and he came up against Norman Hunter, the Bristol City captain, his old mucker from Ellen Road. And
the more times you talk about that game, the more it just sounds fixed, Jim. There's too many coincidences, isn't there? What with Alan Dix and Jimmy Hill, and
yes,
just there's too many things happening. But the thing is, what was interesting about that season was our second half of the season was bottom 3, whereas Sunderland was almost top 3 that second half of the season. They were picking up the points, weren't they? And they were a load of big wins at the last 3 or 4 games of the season, winning 5 here, 6 there.
Yes, I think Sunderland had thrown it all in with their young kids. I remember there was Gary Rowell. Who was the other one? The one that Tony Towers. Mm-hmm. They threw all these outstanding young kids in. Who was the centre? Sean Elliott, was it, the centre half? Anyway, yeah, Sunderland almost pulled themselves out of it, and they've got that infamous night against Bristol, which we talked about many times. But just going back though to Terry when he arrived at Coventry, one apocryphal story is that, and this came from an estate agent who worked in Coventry for many years and was responsible for finding players accommodation when they came to Coventry. And according to him, Terry was shown a lot of club houses. I presume they still owned a lot of houses in those days. But Terry and his family were adamant they wanted this one particular house in Coventry. I think is it Cannon Hill Park, something like that, just off near Earlsdon.
It's not far from me. It's off the Kenilworth Road.
Yeah.
Cannon Hill Park, Cannon Park, right? Yeah.
So anyway, that's the house they wanted, but the problem was that Jimmy Hill's ex-wife was living there. This estate agent, who sadly passed away last year, he had the job of going to tell the ex-Mrs. Hill that she had to move out to let the Yorath come in.
Brilliant. I think Colin Steen did live up that way, because I did a job at someone's house and they said, I must have had a Coventry City hoodie on or something, because famous Coventry player just lived across the road there. And when he said it was Colin Steen, I couldn't believe it. I thought, really? So maybe it was an area of Coventry they lived, or it could have been the same house for all I know.
It could have been. Yeah, it could have been.
So he was made captain. Was he almost straight away when he joined the club?
Yeah, immediately. I think the captain before that was John Craven.
Right.
And Craven and Yorath did play a few games together. That would have been a sight for sore eyes, wouldn't it?
Some tackling going on there.
Oh, Craven was a tough nut. He
I
was.
I don't know how these players would have coped nowadays.
No.
Be interesting to
So,
see a game of football, Jim, actually, with the modern players being allowed to do what it could do in the old days, to see what sort of a game you get. Be interesting.
yes. Yeah, it would, wouldn't it? Um, so, so in the so having just escaped relegation, I think it's fair to say there were a lot of positive signs about that side. You could see Wallace had come into the side and created a really good first impression, without sort of. Well, I think he did score quite a few goals near the end of the season. He got a hat-trick against Stoke, and it was obvious he was a top class striker. Him and Ferguson were really welding together really well. Barry Powell and Yorath in midfield. Tommy Hutch was probably near the peak of his powers.
Was it 75? Was it 75?
That reminds me, the week of the Yorath signing, Tommy Hutch was going to Norwich.
Oh,
That was how Yorath was going to be paid for. So
that'd have been
he
a
had
terrible
forgotten
deal.
that. It was Tommy's talked about John Bond wanting him, and and that was Tommy actually we went to Norwich, spoke to Bond, and the deal was going on, and then all of a sudden at the last minute it was off, and if I remember rightly, City had to sell Jimmy Holmes to Tottenham to help pay for the new boys.
Right. That makes sense now. I was thinking that 75-76 season, was that the season that Wallace had the car crash?
No, that was, yes, it was in his first season. Yeah.
Yes, that would have affected us, wouldn't it? Because obviously he was out for a bit, wasn't he?
He was, but the other player who left around that time was David Cross.
Right.
So to pay for the three new men, it was Holmes and Cross out. So that would have raised probably close to 300 grand.
Yeah.
Well, maybe 250 grand.
Well, to be honest, that was good business, really, because the three players who came in were excellent.
They were, yeah. So the summer of '77, Gordon Mills said, "Right, we're going to play 4-2-4." He signed Ray Graydon on a free transfer from Villa, and he played 4-2-4. With the normal lineup would be Jim Blythe in goal, Graham Oakey right back, Bobby McDonald left back, Jim Holton, Mick Coop centre defence, Yorath and Powell in midfield, and then a front four of Hutchison, Wallace, Ferguson, and then the right flank would either be Ray Graydon, John Beck, or later in the season, Nardiello came into contention. Graydon made 17 league starts. Nardiello made 12, and who did you say the other one was?
John Beck.
John Beck made 15 starts, so they shared that right wing role.
Did Ray get injured? Because he was, I thought it was a great signing for us, because he was a proper old-fashioned winger, wasn't he? He was a good player, Ray Graydon.
Yeah, he was. He didn't play. He didn't play after February, 4th of February, his final game. That was the home win over Liverpool. I think he went to America. maybe to one of Jimmy Hill's Detroit, or no, he went to Washington Diplomats. Yeah, it's one of Jimmy Hill's teams. And then when he came back that autumn, he went to Oxford and had a couple of seasons at Oxford in Division 3. So yeah, Terry and Barry Powell were brilliant in midfield. You know, Terry was the ball winner, but he could play a bit, and Barry Powell was the creative, playmaker. He could find the passes, get the ball out to the wingers, they get the crosses in for Fergie and Wallace. It was a thrilling campaign, absolutely thrilling. I'd go as far to say it was the most exciting season in the first division.
Yeah, I mean, you're obviously about 10 years older than me, so, and I've got great memories of it because that's the period I absolutely love. I just remember it being so exciting. I said lots of goals. I absolutely loved Ian Wallace. I just thought he was brilliant. Such a great player. And we had, it was good. It's also the 76 is the year we created the Leamington Warwick Supporters Club. I think I mentioned the other week that Terry, Ian Wallace, Barry Powell, I'm sure it was Tommy Hutch as well, all came to the pub at the King's Head. So it was great to meet somebody like that. You know, as a 12-year-old, it's incredible. I mean, because those things rarely happened back in those days. I mean, it's more it happens a lot now with our club, but it was brilliant. And he was a nice, I remember him being a really nice bloke. That's what I remember about Terry. Nothing like the persona on the pitch, which is that happens. I say a bit like Michael Doyle for those who want a modern comparison. It's the same with him. You know, you meet him off the pitch, so mild mannered. Absolutely. I mean, really not. I mean, did you have much dealings with Terry after with the former players?
We got him down to Legends Day just the once.
Right.
He arrived late, but he was brilliant. He walked into the big room there, and I took him to the table, and on the next table was sitting Alan Green.
Right.
Because they'd been teammates, and the love between them was just brilliant to see. It was really moving. They hugged each other. I don't think they'd seen each other for 30 odd years, and it was really, really quite moving. And I'm not sure if Tommy Hutch was there that day, but I think they were big mates. And I think I read some of Terry's. He used to write a column for the programme, Captain's Column.
Yeah.
And it was quite witty actually, and there was always a little story about something that had happened at Brighton. And the one that stuck in my mind was the one where I think it was the director was at Brighton meeting Gordon Milne, whatever, and he was drinking a cup of tea, and he got to the bottom of his cup of tea, and there was a pair of false teeth in the bottom of the cup. And that was Jim Holton's teeth.
Oh, really?
Yes. Because Jim had a plate, didn't he? Which he didn't used to wear during matches. He looked pretty gruesome with his front teeth out.
Of course, Terry was involved, I believe, in that hammering at the Hawthorns, the famous 7-1. And there was talk of a falling out. Is that true? Just to the context, the side had missed out on Europe by a whisker. We finished 7th, and as it stood, Arsenal were playing Ipswich in the FA Cup final, but Arsenal had already qualified for Europe. Yeah.
So if Arsenal had won the cup, the 7th place side would go into the UEFA Cup, which would be us.
Yeah.
and they were odds-on favourites to win.
Well, Ipswich were something like 17th in the table. They're bottom six, they're right down the bottom.
Were they?
Yeah.
But they upset the apple cart, beat Arsenal, didn't they? Roger Osborne scored the goal, and we missed out in Europe. It was very, 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 very sad, really, because that side deserved to get into Europe. It was, it was a great season, some fantastic home results.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the start of the following season, things weren't great. They lost in the League Cup at Chester, which was a bit of a blow. And although I think they were mid-table, the performances weren't really up to scratch. And I remember
the defeat at West Brom, though, weren't we third in the table at the time? Weren't we? I thought
were we?
Was it? I don't know. I thought we were. I thought we were quite high up. Because it wasn't. I'm trying to think when we actually played the game. Now, was it near the start of the season?
Well, no. We were. That's a good point. Actually, although we lost at Chester, we'd only lost one game at Liverpool before the Man City game on the 14th of October, when we were third in the table.
Yeah.
But the performances weren't. We'd drawn 0-0 with Leeds. We'd drawn 0-0 with Forest. We were good at home, but we had.
You sound like the fans now, Jim. Only drawing 0-0 in Leeds and Forest.
But the week before West Brom, we lost 2-0 at Man City. Two penalties, Gary Owen penalties. The form wasn't a patch on the previous season. So they went to West Brom and they got absolutely mullered, didn't they?
Yeah.
7-1. And there was an injury. There was an injury in the warm-up, wasn't there?
Yes.
Who got injured in the warm-up?
It was a defender, wasn't it?
Was it Gillespie?
Yeah.
Or was it Holton?
And did Terry have to drop into the back four then?
I'm just checking that because it's, Yeah, Jim Holton was substituted on 59 minutes when we were 3 down. Alan Green came on, so Terry would have gone into the back four with Gillespie. I think Jim Holton actually got a knock in the warm-up. I don't think he was fit at all.
Maybe that's what the issue was then.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a disaster, and the stories. Well, allegedly Yorath and Milne fell out after the game. Something was said in the dressing room, and Terry didn't play. He was even in the reserves for several weeks, and he was close to joining Wolves. That was very close, actually. And then Terry rejected the move, and it seems like they made up. And Terry was back in the first team squad, because Gordon Milne replaced Terry with Andy Blair, gave Andy Blair his debut, which I know Andy was a good young player, but I don't think he was an adequate replacement for a fit and strong Terry Yorath.
Well, he couldn't tackle.
No disrespect to Andy.
Andy wasn't a tackler, was he? He was a little ball player, really, if anything.
Yeah, he was. He was.
You mentioned the Man City game. I got a weird memory. Apart from the fact we lost 2-0, we were sat the side near the woman with the bell, which was a right racket. I remember that. I also remember the crowd noise coming through the loudspeaker system. It was way louder than the amount of people that were in the ground, basically. And I remember the 2 penalties, and also on the coach on the way up, reading a newspaper, and there was a little article about the most horrific horror film ever to be made, and it was called Aliens.
Ah,
And I don't know why that stuck in my head. I remember reading about it, thinking I must never go and see that, which I did in the end, but I was only 14 at the time. So,
oh.
but yeah, weird. So, so I suppose we probably really need to talk about why Terry left then, because he was that a bit of a shock to the fans at the time?
Well, yeah. He, you know, as I said, he came back into the first team, and City finished the season, you know, quite strongly. I think we finished at one stage. We're up in the top edge of the top 6. I think we finished 9th in the end. But the home form, apart from a couple of blips, was very good. I think got the impression that Terry was back in the fold and everything was looking good. But the start of the following season, no, it was actually before the start of the season that Terry went, joined Spurs. I think probably the fee that the money they were offering was too good to turn down, and it helped go towards signing Gary Collier and David Jones.
Oh, dear, should have kept Terry.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Particularly when Collier cost more than we got for Terry.
Yeah. We had a strange period in the well, I could say that about any era, can't we, really? But we had some really good signings, some absolutely awful ones, but that's the same.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what decade it is.
No.
It's the chance you take, isn't it, with some players? And in all honesty, the players who did sign were all in good faith and were all, scouted by other clubs as well. It weren't like they were chance.
And I think City had made their mind up about Collier, probably the previous season. That's the one they wanted. And he was the first to leave under a freedom of contract.
Yeah.
Albeit with a transfer fee set by a tribunal. And I would imagine that Gordon Milne, in his mind, had Yorath out and Collier in.
Yeah.
So, and the fact is that Terry was 29, wasn't he? So,
yeah.
275,000 for a 29-year-old, it's good business, really, I guess.
Well, back in 1979, whenever it was, it definitely is.
Yeah. And I don't think he pulled up many trees at White Hart Lane. I think he was a good player in a quite a good side.
I suppose he played with our dealers and Hoddle, didn't he? And Ricky Villa at the start of the 80s.
Yes.
He was still there, wasn't he, I think?
Yeah, they were both there. Yeah. And obviously Glenn Hoddle as well.
I suppose we ought to touch on what happened to Terry afterwards. Obviously, the tragedy of being manager of Bradford City and the day where they were celebrating winning the league, weren't they? In promotion, and the fire, and then of course the tragic death of his own son a few years later.
Yes,
he had. I mean, after his playing career, he had a good stint with, I think, Wales, and he as manager. He was close to getting qualification, but I think those two things really played a big part in, I suppose, how Terry felt in later life. I think, Jim.
I think it was. I think there's 3 incidents actually. There was the Bradford fire where he actually risked his own life to get people out, and had to smash a window with a chair to get himself out. And then he had his son's tragic death in front of him playing football with him on the garden.
Yeah.
His son had just signed for Leeds United as a 15-year-old, hadn't he?
Yeah.
And then there was the drink driving incident where he narrowly avoided getting put in jail for hitting a woman. I think he killed a pedestrian, didn't he?
Yeah.
So it all sort of added up to being a pretty sorry time for him, really tragic. And his management career, although he did do exceptionally well for Wales, almost got them to the '94 World Cup finals. Apart from winning promotion with Swansea in his first sort of managerial role, that was from Division 4, I seem to remember.
Yeah.
He didn't have a massive amount of success after that in club football. But he was highly rated as a coach. So, it's a very sad day. Terry dying, really is.
Yeah. And, sincere, heartfelt feelings to, of course, the family, and of course, Gabby, who, was, as a young girl, living and playing in Coventry. And I know
Yes.
she speaks fondly of Coventry City. So that's
Yes.
always nice to hear.
She's a brilliant broadcaster as well.
Oh, I'm quite happy listening to Gabby Yorath, or Gabby Logan now. Very good, very knowledgeable about the sport as well. But that's not surprising when you had a father like Terry Yorath and the upbringing, I think, he was involved in. And I suppose then, if you could sum up Terry's time at Coventry, how would you put it?
I'd say that he was a massive influence on that Gordon Milne side. He was a larger-than-life character who gave his all, a real warrior. You mentioned the word warrior. He was the warrior in that attacking team, which won so many plaudits in that period, 76 to 79. In a team of real, we've mentioned all the names, but they're all of them were great players for the club. As I said, I think it was the most exciting season. They got 75 goals that season, some fantastic results, especially at home. And I think he was the major cog in that team.
Yeah. I think brilliantly said, Jim. So you want to talk about foreign players or foreign?
Yes, our new loan signing from South Korea. Mini, they call him, don't they? Yang Min Hoik.
Yes, you beat me to it. Damn.
Well, a lot of people said to me, "Is he the first South Korean?" And I said, "I'm pretty sure he is." And yes, he is the first South Korean. We've never had one before. We've had a few play at the CBS. Did Son play last year in the League Cup game?
Came on a sub, changed the game, didn't he, with Maddison and whoever else came on?
Yeah, I think there've been others as well, but who played for the opposition. But I thought I'd look at how many different countries have represented Coventry City over the years.
Oh.
And if you just look, I'm not looking at players who played for a country, but I'm looking at players where they were born, so foreign-born players. And obviously there's a few anomalies in there, people who we think of as being English, probably because they've got English passports, but actually were born abroad. Thinking of Cyril Regis, who was born in French Guiana, Terry Butcher, who was born in Singapore, David Phillips was born in Germany, as was Wilf Smith, and Dietmar Brook, of course. So there are a few anomalies like that. But if you exclude Ireland, when I say Ireland, I mean the Republic of Ireland, we've had 49 different countries have represented Coventry City in their whole history.
I've got to say, Jim, Dietmar Brook being born in Germany is not a surprise.
No, it isn't actually.
Anyway, carry on. Sorry.
So I looked at which countries have represented. Have we had more players from than any other? And who do you think it is?
The country.
Yeah.
Oh,
We've had 21 of this country's players.
21, 21, 21, 21. In Europe, I'm thinking military, so maybe Germany, maybe ex-soldiers, kids born abroad.
No, it's France.
That's interesting. Is it because they were on holiday or something?
21 Frenchmen have represented Coventry City.
Really?
Yeah. That's the most by any country. We've had next highest is Holland.
Were they born in France and are French, or?
You're going to ask me a few of them to name a few, aren't you?
No. I just wondered because obviously you mentioned the English players who were born abroad, so all these are like pretty much French or
Yeah.
Belgian. Yeah. Okay. Still a lot though. France would not be my first choice. I don't know why I said Germany, to be honest, because I haven't met that many German players play for us. We may have had more Italians play for Cov than Germans, actually.
We have, yeah. We've had very few Germans. I'll tell you some of the Frenchmen. Right, Jean-Guy Valem,
Oh, right.
Fabien Debec,
Oh, dear.
Peggy Arfexad,
Any good
Eric
ones?
Delumo, Florent Leville, who, you say?
Yes, who?
Centre-back in the Peter Reid time.
Oh, dear.
Guillaume Berzelin, William Edginguele,
Oh, well, I've got to say we know him because that's Oggy's son-in-law.
Reader Johnson, Maxime Biamo,
Oh, Reader
Dukans
Johnson.
Nazon.
I didn't realise Reader Johnson was born in France.
Yeah, Marseille.
Yeah.
Romain Vancelot, Tony Andrew, Wesley Gibello, Julian Da Costa.
Oh.
There's a few for you.
There's some half decent ones in the lower leagues there, actually, towards the back end.
Yeah.
So where was Biamo born then?
Max Biamo was born in Créteil, which I think is a suburb of Paris.
Oh, right. Okay. So it's...
Tony Andrew was born in Cagnes-sur-Mer. That's in the south of France.
He was
Riviera.
he was all right. He was. I thought he was pretty good. He wasn't too
Yeah.
bad.
So France 21, Holland 10,
All right.
Belgium 7, Australia 6, Denmark 6, Sweden 6.
That'd be a good quiz question, wouldn't it? Name the 6 Aussies.
Yeah, can you?
John Aloisi, that's one.
Yes.
Roy Wegerle? No, it's USA, isn't it?
No.
God, it could be the 6.
Well, the goalkeeper.
It's a goalkeeper, yeah. Phelan.
Yeah.
Phelan. I'm trying to think. 4 more.
There's another goalkeeper, which you'll never get. He made one sub-appearance.
Oh, definitely won't get him then.
Danny Ireland.
Oh,
and the others, there's another defender who made one sub-appearance in 2004.
Nope.
Sean Cooney. There's a midfielder on loan who played 2 games on loan from Leeds, I think. Jamie McMaster.
Right, so not the best Aussies then.
No. So I was thinking, which sort of large countries have we never had a player from? And read you some of these countries. We've never had anybody from Switzerland.
Right.
Czechoslovakia, or Czechia as it's now known.
Or Slovakia.
We've had a Slovakian, yes.
Ah.
Who was it? I think it was a goalkeeper. We've never had anybody from Finland or Turkey or Russia or Austria or even the largest country in the world, China.
Ah. So, no Austrians?
No Austrians. Yang Min Hoik is the 137th foreign-born player, excluding Ireland. The first was in 1919, when a chap called Fred Gibson, who came from South Africa, played in the first season in the Football League. Within weeks, we had another one from South Africa, Percy Mackrell.
So how does somebody from South Africa end up playing in the Football League in 1919? That's
God knows.
Yeah, that seems bonkers, isn't it? Why'd come over?
Although to be fair, Britain had a big presence in South Africa,
of course,
didn't they? So maybe he was the son of somebody who emigrated, back to the home country.
Yeah.
Then we had a big long gap. The next one, 1946, a Spanish refugee called Emilio Aldecoa. 10 years on, Steve McCone from South Africa, arguably the first coloured player to play for Coventry City. Then we had Arthur Lightning, came in 58 from South Africa. So they're all South Africans apart from Aldecoa at this stage. Then we had 2 years after Lightning, we had from India, an Indian-born player called Nelson Stiffle.
Great name.
The same year, Dietmar made his debut.
Yeah.
Then a 7-year gap to another anomaly, Jerry Baker, born in New York, but with a Scottish accent.
Right.
And went on to represent the USA. 3 years after that, the Will Smith, who we've talked about, or Wilfried Schmidt, as he was born. And then 79, the first real imported player, I think you could say, which was Roger Van Gaal.
Yeah. It's interesting that Wilfried Schmidt, it sounds like something from My Low Low, isn't it? Where he has to change his name. And he just call me Will Smith.
Yes.
So I don't get caught behind enemy lines or something. It's interesting because I don't know if I mentioned it before, my dad's friend from Italy, who's Mario Fuchs, or Mario Fuchs, so you want to call it. And because it was so obvious that it got a German name, and this is after the war, and because his mum was from Bologna, they just called him Bolognese. So his surname, he changed his name to Mario Bolognese. He lived in Leamington, and yet if you spoke to him, he had the strongest German accent you've ever heard. It was hilarious.
Really?
People thought he was Italian. That was like a lower low. It's he lived on the Rugby Road in Leamington.
How strange. And has he got offspring?
Well, his wife, Catherine, was Irish. So
Wow.
I know it's they were friends of the family for years and years and years. He had a car mechanic place on Rugby Road by what was Lockwood's now, I think, near there in that end of town. But that's a fascinating list, that is. He mentioned Jerry Baker. I just seen that Carl Baker's refereeing Bedworth Town v West Bromwich Albion tonight.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's officiating in the. I think
wonderful.
Is that the Birmingham Senior Cup? I think something like that. It is
wonderful.
That's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah. So just the last stat on those foreign-born players. So he is the 137th. Mini is the 137th. Yeah. We've had 89 of them have joined us since 2000.
Right.
That tells you a lot, doesn't it?
Well, it does, because you couldn't have you could only have so many foreign players in your team that weren't part of the EU, and even then that was hard to get them visas and passes to play, wasn't it? You could only have, was it 2 players who weren't from the British Isles, or something ridiculous like that. Which I think they did used to include Republic of Ireland in that, else it would be an absolute nonsense, wouldn't it? There'd be loads of players from the Republic who couldn't play. But then, of course, if you remember, Man United had the problem in Europe when they were having European matches where they couldn't play players from the Republic of Ireland. They were limited to how many they could play. It was bizarre ruling.
Yes.
So,
Yeah,
so of course, now it doesn't matter, does it? You can have as many as you want. It's in fact, I'm not even sure what the ruling is now on foreign players.
No, I don't know. But obviously, the Roger Van Gaal, he started the wave. So after him, we had Rudi Kaiser from Holland. We had Radia Vramovic. Then we had Martin Jol, Cyril Regis, Jose Perdomo, but it wasn't really till we got the European scout Ray Clark, that we started. We started buying a lot of foreign players. Between '96 and 2000. I'd say about 70% of our signings were foreigners.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
You think of Reggie Janot and Saltvet, Roland Nielsen, Magnus Hedman, Boateng, Moldovan, Valem, Philippe Clement, now at Norwich, John Aloisi, Cognac, Hadji, Cheapo, Yanni, Roussel, Norman. They're a large number of foreigners.
Yeah.
Which is a subject we'll come back to in a future episode, isn't it? We're going to have a bit of a special guest on, which we won't reveal at this stage.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, with foreign boys? You never know. You don't know what you're going to get, do you? You don't know how they're going to adapt. Everybody thinks, you're playing football, it's going to be easy. But when you move to another country, there's lots of factors. It's not just the person who you're signing; it's the family as well. It's the whole shooting match.
Yeah,
it's whether or not they settle, as we know from Robert Yarni, where his wife preferred Madrid to Coventry, basically, and and some players just do not settle. They just want to go where it's warmer, maybe sometimes.
Yes.
So it's interesting. I'm always fascinated that South American players come here and do so well, even now. I just, because years ago that was the whole thing, wasn't it, Jim? People would say, "Oh, they can't play over here; it's too cold for them." But I think the last few years those people have been proven wrong. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, but I think we are there, aren't we, for tonight? I believe.
I think we are. Yes.
I think it was. I really enjoyed that. I loved talking about Terry Yorath. He's, like I said, as a kid growing up in the late 70s, it was they were wonderful to watch. You were in your early 20s, I believe. Is that right?
Yes. Early 20s. But the other thing about Terry is when you see pictures of him in a sky blue shirt, he was there in the great Admiral Egg Timer kit, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, it's the iconic kit, I think.
Yes. He also was, when he was playing with us and representing Wales, we mustn't forget he won, I think, 20 of his 59 caps when he was with us, and he wore the Welsh Admiral red Egg Timer kit, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Interestingly, and when he played, this is weird, because when he played at Leeds, he wore Admiral, and when he went to Tottenham, they wore Admiral.
Yes. Yeah.
He only had a sponsorship deal with Admiral. That's why he had to only go to clubs who played an Admiral kit.
Yeah.
That's weird. Well, in fairness, they did have a lot of kits back in the mid to late 70s.
Yeah.
Jim, great talking to you again. Of course, we look ahead to some interesting fixtures coming up soon. No doubt we'll mention the next time we get together and do our podcast, because of course we have got Leicester and Millwall and Norwich and all sorts coming up in the weeks to come.
Yeah.
And, hopefully the next time we speak, we are still top of the table and trying to break that record. That would be wonderful, wouldn't it?
It would. It would. Okay. Well, good night.
Good
Thanks
night
again.
And play up Sky Blues.
Get your questions in, claryborton@gmail.com.
Yes, and like and subscribe.
Yes, subscribe, definitely. Okay.
Brilliant. Catch you soon.
Good night.
Radio Company business. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. Thank you. Lovely.